Dear devotees, dear friends, today I'm so excited to interview His Grace Keshava Bharati Prabhu. Keshava Bharati Prabhu has been performing Harinam Sankirtan every Fridays in Sandton outside Nelson Mandela Square from the year 2015. For the last 8 years, he's been doing it with a team of devotees on a consistent basis. He speaks about how he balances his work, his service, and his sadhana, his personal spiritual practice. He tells us his love for spreading Krishna's holy names and giving it to everyone. And then he also speaks about a very special devotee, Hari Murari Prabhu, who sadly passed away a few weeks ago, and just getting insights to this very humble devotee who was so attached to Harinam Sankirtan for spreading Krishna's name in the streets. And this is it. In this age, the temple is now out on the street, and these devotees are just spreading the glories of Krishna's name on the streets of Sandton. So please give it a year. Please tell us what you think about it in the comment section as well, and give us a rating as well. And we can't wait to interview you, our heroes in our community in Sandton. So, dear spiritual seekers, devotees, and friends, I'm very excited today to have with us His Grace Keshava Bharati Prabhu. I've known Keshava Bharati Prabhu for a long time, but the reason we're doing these podcasts is to get to know the heroes, the everyday heroes in our community, the heroes that are making such a difference in our spiritual lives and in our community, and just enlivening so many devotees. So welcome, Keshava Bharati Prabhu, and thank you for being with us today.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share.
So Keshava Bharati Prabhu, tell us a bit about yourself. How did you find Krishna? We all know that you're from a small little town in the Northwest province called Brits, and you want to tell us about how you came into contact with Krishna consciousness?
So when I was small, I was about, I think, 8 or 9 years old. There was a devotee that used to come to Brits to come and do collections for the Pretoria temple, and like he came to our house because my dad used to be in charge of the community, and so naturally people would direct them to us first. So this devotee came home and he was speaking to us, and eventually he asked my dad, he's like, can you take me around the town so that we could raise some funds for the Pretoria temple? And then my dad looked at me, and I looked at him and I said, okay, Bapuji, my dad, I'm like, please let me go. I'll take him around, So I ended up going around with this devotee, and we went house to house. Then we raised some money. So he was selling some paraphernalia, some clothing to raise some money for the temple. And then in the car, he asked me, he's like, I'd like to go and fill up some fuel. So I sat in the car with him, and then he put his radio on, and I was listening to this, to this old man chanting, and I didn't understand who this was. Now I know it's Prabhupada, but just listening to him, like, I was in my mind, I was thinking, I'm like, why would someone listen to such an old man chanting? Like, normally you want to listen to something more lively or more melodious, or like, I didn't understand that we were listening to a pure devotee. So that was my first contact with Prabhupada and ISKCON, was that interaction. And then slowly, as I grew up, I had no contact with devotees for a long time. And then when I joined campus, then I met the devotees on campus at BYS, and that's where I actually started my spiritual life.
And this was at Pretoria campus, right?
Yeah, University of Pretoria.
Okay, that's wonderful. So, Keshava Bharati Prabhu, not only are you coming from the small little town, but now you're in the Johannesburg area. You have a wonderful family, a wonderful daughter. What work do you do?
I'm a business analyst and finance manager for Africa. So basically, we sell construction equipment and agricultural equipment into Africa, into 8 different countries, and yeah, I basically have to manage all the reporting and analytics to the board and the CEO.
Okay, but having such a busy job, it was so difficult to tie you down for this podcast today because you always traveling. You were where were you? In Nairobi, right? And then
Yeah.
Zambia, and now you're here for a few weeks and then shooting off to Ghana. How do you balance family life? How do you balance Krishna consciousness and obviously the guy who pays you as well? How do you balance work?
So it is really difficult, with work it's very demanding, but like Jairaj Sham was reading a snippet from Guru Maharaj's book, and Guru Maharaj was saying that it's important to get a balance, in your material life, but also your spiritual life. Like it's important if you start a family, then it means that you have to give time to your family. So initially it was very difficult for me because work was very demanding when Karunika was born. But yeah, the thing that kept me grounded or helped me to stay grounded was I continued waking up early through all this time. Like I've tried to maintain for many years now. I've tried to just maintain a morning program where I make sure I wake up around 4, quarter to 4, make sure I'm ready to chant my rounds at least, by 6:30 in the morning before Karunika wakes up. And yeah, like I remember at our initiation, like Guru Maharaj told us, he said, please try to chant your rounds before 7 o'clock in the morning. And he said, if you can, it would be wonderful if you could chant your rounds before Mangalarti. So yeah, like I've tried to keep that going for as long as I can. And also just, thinking that now that I have a family, like I know my responsibilities to my family also. So I've made sure that I've kept one service consistent. And if I get time and when we can actually do some service, then I'll do it. But in my life, like while we didn't have a child and when we were just a couple, we just married, and I made sure that we did as much service as possible. So now when we're in the situation where we do have a child, like I don't feel bad that I have to give time to the family now. But I know that in the time when we had, when it was just the two of us, like I gave as much time as I could to to getting involved in the temple, to cooking, to doing as much service as possible. So now, and also, like one thing that has helped me a lot in the last few years especially was trying to read as much as I can every day. So like my routine every day is that I chant my rounds in the morning. I usually listen to class in the morning, so on my way to work I'll make some time to listen half an hour to Prabhupada while I'm driving, and then when I get to work I'll do my work. So I do whatever my manager asks me to do, and then during my lunch hour I do some exercises just to keep the body going for about 10 or 15 minutes. I'll do my Gayatri, and then I'll try to read for at least half an hour or 45 minutes. And in that way, I'm able to still keep my spiritual life going. But then at the same time, when I do come home and I have to see to my daughter, then I'm able to see to her and give some time to my wife and my mother as well.
That's quite enlivening, Keshav Bharati, that you're just juggling all of this so wonderfully, like a magician or an expert devotee, and many other devotees are also doing that. It's said that spiritual life sometimes is like juggling three balls. One is preaching, one is work or sadhana, and the other one is preaching sadhana and health. These three balls
Yeah.
we're always trying to juggle, and sometimes we don't get it right. Sometimes it's a busy festival and we have to throw one of these balls in the air and just juggle the other two. Sometimes we have to throw away health in the air as well. But as Srila Prabhupada always said, health first, and then devotional service. So it's really remarkable of how you balancing this for such a long time, doing it in an auspicious month like Kartik, it's easy. There's special mercy flowing there, but doing it for consistent amount of time, month after month, year after year, that's really amazing and inspiring. And this is where we also get our inspiration from to do and to preach Krishna consciousness.
That's so
We we
true.
we also have to understand that sometimes we uh we have good moments in our lives, and these good moments that we have are the moments that we can absorb ourselves as much as we can in some sort of service, absorb ourselves in our chanting, absorb ourselves in hearing and reading as much as we can, just nourishing ourselves. Because then when we go through those bad patches in our life, or we don't have to say bad patches, but those busy patches in our life, then we can always go to our bank, because we have a little bit of nourishment to carry us on. So really, once again, amazing how you balancing all of this. Another thing that you do, I know you're a good cook, you're a musician, but something that you have been doing for a consistent period of time for every Fridays, and from the year 2015, almost 8 years now, is this Harinam Sankirtan, this chanting in the streets outside Mandela Square, outside the Gautrain station. How do you do it? What keeps you going and just doing it for such a long time? We always know, Keshava, that starting something is the easy part. That's the Brahma part, the creating part. Destroying it is even easier. You can ask your daughter, she can destroy things right around the house. That's the easy part. But that maintaining of anything in our lives, especially this Harinam, how do you do it?
So initially, when we started the Harinam, it was I think three of us or four of us that started it. So it was a few devotees from Sandton that got together, and we were like, okay, let's try and do book distribution. So we would go every Saturday to the Sandton train station, and we would try to distribute books to whoever's sitting there outside for maybe 2 or 3 hours. And then, like after a while, we decided, okay, fine, let's try to do even just Harinam for about half an hour, going around the train station. So we started doing that, but it was just difficult because like we didn't have a mridanga player. We used to advertise the program, but it was just when Sandton Temple actually started. So it was just, yeah, we were still growing the congregation, but then the temple president asked me, said, please, try and start Harinam. And he asked me a few times, not once, but like a few times. And first few times I ignored it. I was like, it's not possible. And then I was like, okay, fine, let me give it a shot. So I tried to speak to Guru Maharaj about this. So I was speaking to Guru Maharaj, and I was telling him all the services I do, and I didn't mention kirtan. I just left it out. I was like, fine, like everybody does kirtan. Then Guru Maharaj told me, like at the end when I told him all the services, then he looked at me and said, what about kirtan? So, like this was before this happened. So then I kept thinking, I'm like, what does he mean? What about kirtan? What about kirtan? Then when I saw Guru Maharaj, doing Harinam wherever he goes, then I thought about it, and I'm like, if the temple authorities are asking me to do this, then I have to do it. But also remembering that Guru Maharaj, he sets the example. He's done this also. So then I took the responsibility. I started. buying some sound equipment. I started speaking to devotees and I started asking them, like, please, this is what we're trying to do. Please try to come. So initially, like, it was being done not where we are now, like where we were on the corner of Nelson Mandela Square and West, but before it was being done at the bottom at the Gautrain station. Then we did it for a while there, and then we got chased away by the shop owners because it was disrupting their business. And then eventually it came to the Nelson Mandela Square on the corner. And there also we had some challenges where securities came to us and asked us what we're doing, and they wanted to stop us. And then somehow the devotees convinced them that we are praying to the Lord, so please just allow us. And since then they never stopped us. So I think the key to keeping the Harinam going was whenever there were devotees, I would always appreciate all the devotees. So whenever they would come, I would make it my duty to make sure I greet everybody. If I saw someone new coming to the Harinam, I would try to encourage them by giving them a chance to sing, by thanking them for coming, by encouraging them to come again. And if someone doesn't come to the Harinam for a period of time or something, I'll always phone them and just see how they're doing, or just drop a message, or so I try to maintain these relationships and try to build a team of devotees that had the same interest, or or inclination. But also whenever I gave class, I always, like, at the end, I would always try to plead to the devotees and say, please try to come, for Harinam. Like, this is what Lord Chaitanya wanted us to do, and he himself did it also. So I gave it a lot of thought, and I kept doing it. I mean, the Harinam, it went through a lot also over the years, where initially there was a lot of devotees, and then there were times where like people get caught up in their lives with the work. And so I used to always pray to Krishna. I'm like, no matter where you put me, in whatever job you put me in, please make sure that I'm allowed to come to the Harinam no matter what. So somehow by Krishna's mercy, it has been happening that whatever job I got, that I was able to go and make sure that the Harinam happens between 5 and 6 every Friday. But yeah, the times that when it was difficult, like, I remember speaking to Harinamananda Prabhu, and Harinamananda Prabhu told me, it's like, even if it means that you go out alone, just go. And then like, there were times where I would start by myself at the Harinam, and like, while I'm walking to the Harinam, I would start praying. I would, like, take the instruments out of the car, and I would pray. I'd pray to Krishna and tell him, like, please, even just send one devotee. Like, I'd be so scared. Even till today, like, I have a fear of standing by myself and singing, but sometimes it just has to be done. So what has kept me going is remembering that this is, when you're giving out the holy name, it's not even for yourself, but it's to serve Guru Maharaj, serve Prabhupada. Because I even remember watching those videos of Prabhupada playing on the bongo drum under that tree in Tompkins Square Park, like, and I was thinking, there was no one there that was musically inclined. There was no facility, but Prabhupada just started chanting. So if Prabhupada did that, then if I try, then he'll empower me also to do it. So I always remember this, and I think that has been keeping me going for these years now.
Thank you for sharing that. But what is it about this holy name? Why can't we just do it in the temple? Why can't we just do it in the beads? Why do we have to be out there on the street? I remember many years ago, the devotees came to my hometown to perform Harinam. Some of them had their saffron cloth, some of them had their white dhotis on, and all sorts of musical instruments. And they said, please come. And there was a whole group of devotees, and they went through the downtown shopping center on a busy Saturday afternoon, when it's the busiest. I didn't know how to escape it. I was so afraid that the people around were like starting pointing fingers, and this guy is crazy. He's with the Hare Krishnas, etc. But you know what I did? I hid in the middle of all of the devotees, and they were all giants, so no one could see me. And then at one point, the cartels, I was playing cartels, and the strings was so tight around my finger started bleeding because it was a long harinam. And I looked at the devotee and he looked at me and I said, I can't play this anymore. He said, it's purification, Prabhu. You just go on. It's like, wow, this is hardcore,
That's
you know.
amazing.
But what is it about this harinam? Why can't we do it in the temple? Why can't we just do it at home on our beads with our family and be satisfied?
So, I mean, after reading, finishing Bhagavatam and then starting Chaitanya Charitamrita, like I've read now till almost the end of the Madhya Leela, and like when we join ISKCON, or when we join the chanting of the holy name, in the association of devotees, initially it's very, very sweet. It's amazing, like Krishna, he gives you so much mercy to just taste that holy name, taste the love that you receive, taste the happiness you feel from chanting. But over a period of time, like once you become initiated, you take the steps to surrender, then like it becomes a bit difficult, if you're not giving it to other people. So like by giving it out to everyone else, especially when you're on the street, I mean, when you chant at home, that is for you, your relationship with Krishna. When you chant in the association of devotees, it is actually, like everybody's Krishna consciousness that's carrying you when you are leading kirtan, or when you are giving class, or when you're just in the association of devotees. But when you're in the association of devotees giving it out to everybody else, you're reminded of the first time, that, or that, how can I say, like that first time experience of chanting the holy name, that's what you were looking for, your whole life. And that it gives you a lot of inspiration when you see other people becoming happy without even knowing, what's happening to them when they chanting with you on the street. For them experiencing or coming in contact with Krishna, that feeling of or seeing them helps me to keep my spiritual life alive. That keep reminding me that this is how blissful it is, that even people that haven't practiced, that haven't heard of the holy name, just by coming in contact with it, that they become happy, they want to dance, they just, yeah, they can't understand what's happening. And also, like, when we're doing this, we're actually introducing everyone to Srila Prabhupada. And that, for me, it's like that's the real service in Harinam, is to introduce everybody to this pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada.
That's so nice. And I've heard Keshava Bharati Prabhu. I've heard that chanting on your beads is perfect, but even more perfect is performing kirtan in front of the deity or in the temple. That's more perfect. But most perfect is going out in the streets and chanting or performing harinam sankirtan in the streets. That's most perfect. So we understand that this holy name is given by Krishna himself, and we are followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's actually said that 500 years ago, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was having kirtan in the close association, in the house of Shivas. And there he was causing so much of disturbance, that with the loud cartels and the madanga, the neighbors complained. And the neighbors complained to Shan Kazi. And Shan Kazi came and he said, stop this noise, stop this noise. And there he goes and he breaks the madanga right in the house of Shiva's Pandit. From there, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then organizes the first Harinam Sankirtan which we are still doing 500 years ago, 500 years later. This first Harinam Sankirtan with many torches, many madangas, that it was so loud, it sounded like thunder. And then he goes dancing through the house of Shankazi, and he basically makes Shankazi, who's the governor of the area, he makes him a devotee. But Shankazi basically had a dream of Lord Nrsimha. So we are following in his footsteps, and we see that then Prabhupada reintroduces it. He just sits under a tree. We're sitting under Nelson Mandela now in Sandton. But Prabhupada sat under this tree, and this tree became a desire tree. And with this desire tree, so many people the media got attracted to hearing Prabhupada chant this simple tune. So it really has a lot of potency, this holy name. But at the same time, we're trying to spread the holy name, just like Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's time. You were just now describing. There are some challenges. There are some hindrances with the people around you, right? But I guess I guess this is just part of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's leela or pastimes continued, right?
It always happens, when you become comfortable in a service that you're doing, somehow Krishna, to increase your attachment or desire to serve, then he puts these obstacles in your way, which are not obstacles, but it's almost like, like Guru Maharaj would say, Krishna is like the fire. When you come close to Krishna, you'll feel the heat. So it's like, yeah, like when you're doing the service, like you'll get tested every now and then. There'll always be someone. I mean, there's been people that have walked past the Harinam that have sworn at us, because we're doing Harinam. They don't appreciate it. We got complaints from the building across that we're making noise while they're working. We got complaints from the person that puts up the advert behind the Harinam. So one day Hari Murari Prabhu put up his poster, the holy name poster, he put press stick and he put it on the poster. Within 10 or 15 minutes, there was a guy on a motorbike that came and he told us, he says, what are you guys doing here? Why are you putting these posters on my poster? I'm paying to advertise here, And I was like, it's fine, no problem. I just told Hari Murari Prabhu, I was like, let's just leave it, next to where we're standing, and Krishna will make arrangements. And since then, there's been no adverts. I don't know if his advert went or whatever, but it's just Krishna testing us. Like, in these situations, like I've learned that you should, when you're in public, you should remember that you're representing Srila Prabhupada, not only in public, but even your interactions with devotees. So your behavior will win the hearts over of these people, by not arguing with them, by not rebelling against what they're saying, accepting what they're saying, but at the same time, just explaining to them, it's an opportunity to tell them what you're doing. And sometimes they just come, they're doing their duty or their job. So we have to remind ourselves also that these people are earning a living from doing this also. So yeah, we should respect it, but at the same time, use it as an opportunity. If it becomes a real issue, then we address it. If it's not, somehow we carry on, now and then something will happen, but yeah, we should just endeavor and carry on.
And then you get these guys who block the ears as they walking past the Sankirtan party. They don't realize, right, how much of mercy and benefit they're still getting because they're hearing Krishna's name, whether it's Krishna's name, Allah's name, Buddha's name, Jehovah's name. They're hearing God's name.
It's so true, like I heard in one class also, I can't remember when this was, but this devotee was saying, he said, when you're chanting in any place, that atmosphere becomes completely purified. And even afterwards, when people walk past there, they still get the benefit because the holy name was chanted there. So even if you try to block your ears, like the holy name's not just sound, it's the Lord himself. And when the Lord is present in the Harinam, then whoever comes in contact with that harinam, their hearts change. So that contact is important, whether they block their ears or don't block their ears, they're still gonna get the benefit. Krishna is so merciful, especially in his
And
name.
and that's it, right? Krishna has many incarnations, and these incarnations come at different times, different yugas. But now, in this age, it really comes as His holy name, and that's it, right? Krishna is there in His holy name. We just don't can't perceive it, right? We can't
It's true.
perceive it. We can't perceive it.
It's it's so true, like the temples are actually the streets.
Mhm.
The temples are the streets, and the deity is actually the holy name that's being worshipped. So yeah, that is the most amazing thing ever.
Yeah, and now at the Harinam party, the temple goes out there because we've become so spiritually lazy, right? In this age that they're going to church or mosque or a temple even, once a week or one when we're supposed to be going at least once a day. It's become so difficult, but now the temple comes to you. So you've told us about these these forces that don't like the Harinam party. But what about the beautiful people that you have any stories that it just changed somebody being out
There-
there every week?
There's been there's been a few stories, like initially when we started the Harinam, like there was I remember this one person that came. It was a lady, she was just walking around. She was really frustrated in life, like, so we were doing Harinam and like she heard the music, so she felt attracted to it, so she came towards the Harinam. And when she came to the Harinam, then the devotees, got this lady chanting, so they showed her the holy name, and then they started dancing with her. And if you know, like African people love dancing, so she started dancing. She got into the Harinam. At the end, like when all of us, like, we decided, we're gonna leave, she started crying at the Harinam, and she's telling everybody, she's like, I was coming to this point in my life where I didn't want to do anything anymore because I lost hope of ever finding happiness. But when I heard you guys singing on the street, something attracted me to that singing. And when I came here, I've experienced, real love or happiness. And I was so touched by it because I didn't realize what the effect of the holy name was, until you actually see someone else that is not a devotee come and tell you these things. And she, at the end, we gave her a science of self-realization, and she took the temple details. I think I seen her once or twice in the temple, but at least she got introduced. Like there's something, that's something that in the holy name, that attracted her. And then also, you know, one day we were chanting, and we were busy, with the Harinam, and normally we end at 6 o'clock. And then this group of people came. They were performing. I don't know if it was at the Sandton Convention Center, or they just they came in their uniform and they started doing their performance at the Harinam while we were chanting. And like when other people saw that, they were amazed. It almost looked like, in the in the material world, there's a movie called Step Up, where they spontaneously do something and they start dancing in the street. Here it almost felt like that. It's almost like, we just started the Harinam. People came, whoever could offer something in that Harinam, their skills, their talent. This was the place to do it. And these people came, actually just started dancing, and they even asked us, "Can we dance?" And they did their whole routine in the Harinam, and then left, smiling and happy. And actually, also, I think the most amazing part of this Harinam, which I feel is also extremely special, is that we have these children that come to the Harinam and they distribute books. It's easy to tell an adult no, but it's not so easy to tell a kid no, a small child. And I think that is very sweet. It's a very sweet part of the Harinam, where you see the children are inspired to come and give books. And for me, like that's, I think for me the best thing in the Harinam is that there's holy name, that there's the books that are being distributed, and also preaching happening at the same time. When whoever stops, whoever inquires, they get to speak to a devotee. And that it's a full package. It's a full package in Krishna consciousness.
But we really don't understand this potency, of Krishna's holy names. But when we see it, how it affects other people, then it increases our faith. For example, like it said for Lord Jagannath's chariot, that those who walk on the same route as Lord Jagannath's chariot, they can get liberation. And those who walk the day after, the week after, a year after, a decade after, on that same route or that same place that Lord Jagannath's chariot has passed, will get liberation. And we say liberation. Why? It's because Krishna's devotees and Krishna's name have passed through there. So everyone who's commuting through this Gauteng station in Sandton, through Nelson Mandela Square, they have no idea the amount of immense benefit they are getting, because Krishna and Krishna's, in his form of the name, and Krishna's devotees have been there since 2015. So many people. So you may be thinking you're only doing this on a Friday afternoon, but those who come on Saturday, those who come on Sunday, those who come on Monday, and those who come again on Friday, they are all getting this nectar, some security, something within their heart will be triggered towards spiritual life. So it's really amazing. And for me, this Gauteng station, this Nelson Mandela Square, it's just really, for me, it's like a fusion of different people, different cultures, different races, just coming there, that central point, and voila, they're getting all this nectar. So it's really, again, amazing service that you're doing, and trying to encourage others as well. Um, just now, you spoke a little bit about somebody who's so dear to all of us, right? And such a saintly personality, who was such a backbone to our Harinams in Sandton. His Grace Hari Murari Prabhu, who sadly passed away a few weeks ago. You want to tell us what type of impact he had? This very gentle and saintly and sweet impact he had on the devotees and the commuters in Sandton.
This devotee, like I saw him from the beginning. Like, I mean, he became a devotee, but initially he would call us to his house to do kirtan. So we used to have kirtan nights at his house. And I didn't know this before, but like as I got to know him, he was telling me he used to be part of a band, and he used to play harmonium, he used to play the flute, he used to play a few instruments. But they used to sing in the band, but he never sang at the namahatas. Then the once we saw him play harmonium for someone else that was singing, and then we told him, it's like, Hari Murari Prabhu, you have to sing. Like, if you can play, that means you can sing. Then he was like, no, like, Prabhu, I can't remember the tunes, like I get nervous when I sit in front of the harmonium, like I won't be able to do it. And then over the years, like he I think he was just humble, to be honest, not even that he was scared, but he started, like, really, like, he would tell me in his business, he would take his harmonium to his shop, and like when he had free time, then he would YouTube videos and learn. So he would learn tunes, like he'll go listen to different tunes and try to pick it up on the harmonium and prepare, and at that time, like, he was trying to come to Harinam, but he couldn't because of the shop. But then towards the end of the Like when he wanted to close the shop, it was coming to that point. Then he would close the shop early on a Friday, and straight from town he would come directly to the Harinam. But in this time, like we, like many of us seen this, but when we used to visit him, like he would always, he would do the most simple things to attract the mercy of the Lord. And the one example I can give you is he would grow a lot of tulsi at home. And in the middle of winter, if you know Lanesia, it's extremely cold, and tulsi won't just survive outside. But by his house, she was surviving. I don't know how. And like three big tulsis. And he used to tell me, it's like every morning he would go have a bath, then come and chant in his altar room. But before he would chant, like he would give Tulsi a hug. I have never heard any devotee ever doing this, but he would hug the Tulsi plants, he would hug them, he would put some water in them, and then he would start chanting. And then he would take care of them, would take them out in the sun, put them back in the house. So he worshipped the source, like that prayer we sing in the morning to Vrinda Devi, every day, or Tulsi Maharani, and it's yeah, that whole prayer is like, to make us a resident of Vrindavan and to get the mercy of Tulsi. And Hari Murari Prabhu did this for so long, like I can't understand, but his heart, like I saw the effect or the change in his heart over this time, so yeah, like, what he brought to the Harinam was that love for Krishna through serving, Tulsi Maharani. But not only that, like his meditation was always on Vrindavan, Shishi Radhasham Sundar, Krishna Balaram, and Gaur. Like whoever he would meet, he would give. So he would laminate pictures of them and he would give to everyone. Whoever sings on the harmonium, they would get one. Or whoever he saw sing, because that was his meditation, like completely. Even in his car, by speedometer, he would keep a picture of Krishna Balaram there. When he would drive in his van. He would put the kirtan so loud that he could not hear anything else. Like Mataji, she would complain that when she tried to phone him at night, like on his way back, she couldn't get hold of him because the kirtan is so loud. But this devotee was so absorbed in his Krishna consciousness that even people that associated with him didn't even know how deep he was in his Krishna consciousness. But it's because of his simplicity, the fact that he always just associated with all of us, making us feel like we on his level, but we were never on his level. And also, like, now when he left his body, like at home, Mataji was saying that, so he has, if you go to his altar room, he has pictures of Krishna Balaram, Radhasham Sundar on the wall, big posters. And then what he would do every morning is, like, while he was chanting, he had a picture of Radhasham Sundar. So you'd have Krishna on the one side, Radharani on the other side, and while he was chanting, he would put his hands on the wall and he would start meditating on the Lord's feet. And while he's chanting, he's thinking that, like he would press the wall, but he would think of their feet, that he's massaging their feet. And this was his meditation. Even every single bead, every counting bead that he had, he would dedicate it to one deity. So that's how he would count his rounds. So even like, when he would listen to kirtan, like I stayed some days at his house also. Like he would drop everything if he heard a tune that he liked, and it didn't matter whether it was like he needed to go somewhere or do something. He would immediately go in front of the TV and he would just start playing or trying to figure out the tune because he was so attracted to the holy name, like something that struck a chord in his heart. And even if you go to his house, in his room, he created a spare room where he would just buy instruments and practice on them, because he used to tell me in the evenings he would sit till late at night and just try to practice and just try to figure out some tunes. But his meditation was the whole day on Krishna. No matter what he did, he tried to just keep thinking of Krishna. And by him coming to the Harinam, I could see it. He would bring we didn't have an extra speaker, we didn't have extra stands, we had no instruments. We used to just have mridanga and katals, and he brought his guitar. And there's something that he did which was really amazing. He would always tell us, he's like, when you come and you sing in the harinam, like, always encourage others to sing. So like that also inspired me, that whenever someone comes, even if the person doesn't have the ability to sing, but try and engage them, make them feel a part of it. And also something else he shared with me was, he said, that we should we should always put aside our differences and always try to serve in such a way that we can present this holy name to everyone very nicely. And that's what he brought to the harinam, and that's what I'll miss a lot in the harinam. I relied on him a lot to help me, and he was not just someone that would come to the harinam. Like, he would hug everybody, when he would come. Before even he would pick up his guitar and start playing, he would hug everybody. He would always, after the harinam, he would come and speak to everyone, ask how they're doing. And yeah, he was a fatherly person, but had a lot of love, and I can see it in his family also. So this is the person we're dealing with, this devotee, Hari Murari Prabhu.
Yeah, and I guess this is one of the reasons for these podcasts as well, too, because we have so many sincere, so many humble devotees in our community. We don't really get to know them. And then we have this superficial relationship where it's just hey, Haribol, how are you? And then we don't really get to know about these devotees' services, and this is what Krishna consciousness is about, that we borrow from each other. We borrow some spirituality from each other, enough to carry us further, and so we can advance in our own, or walk our own path. So thank you so much for sharing that, and it just shows that we have to use our talents in Krishna's service and take it serious, taking your harmonium to your shop or to your business. Although you're your own boss, but that's a serious thing, it shows your commitment, and you were also speaking about giving out these pictures of these deities, Radhe Sham, Krishna Balaram, Shishi, Gornitai. It's really amazing, because it said that the only reason to leave Sri Vrindavan is to go out and give Sri Vrindavan to others. That's the only reason you leave. So the only reason that we are performing all of this, this Harinam Sankirtan, is to give the holy name, giving this gift of Lord Chaitanya, giving this gift of Srila Prabhupada to as many people as possible, just throwing the net wide out there so somebody can get a drop of this mercy. And if they get the drop of the mercy, we get some mercy as well. And this is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right? He describes Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami describes Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as this transcendental gardener. And as this transcendental gardener, he's coming to the marketplace and he's selling his fruit. Everyone is selling it for so many rupees per kilo, but he's selling this fruit and he's not actually selling it. He's giving it away for free. And then you get this nectar, this pure fruit with no seed, no peel, just pure nectar dripping into your mouth. And you're thinking, oh, it's a very expensive fruit and he's going to charge you for the next one. And what does Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu say? He says, the next one is also free, but there's a small condition. That fruit that you are eating right now, you have to give it away. And the more you give, the more you receive. The more you give, the more mercy you receive. So this is what we're trying to do. This is the Yuga Dharma for this age. It's not any artis, it's not any fasting, it's not any types of penances or performing any types of yagya. The yagya, the fire yagya for this age is going out in the streets and chanting Hare Krishna. So, Keshava Bharati, you are doing amazing service, and I told you recently that I have this desire, that every family in Johannesburg, in Gauteng, go out on a Friday evening. If they can't join you in Sandton, at least stand outside your complex or outside your home with your family and just chant for 15 minutes, just 15 minutes. Because by chanting that for 15 minutes and every one of us are doing it congregationally, this is what it means, doing it together outside our homes, we'll change the whole atmosphere of Gauteng, where it will become a spiritual place.
I'm sure it
So,
will happen. It will happen
so
one day.
yeah, we are your servants, Keshava Bharati. You can't just do that now in Sandton now, but we have to try to spread it to every corner of Johannesburg. Yes, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said every town and village, but now we're taking it deeper. Every corner of Johannesburg, the resounding sound of Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna
Krishna, Krishna,
Krishna, Hare
Krishna,
Hare.
Hare Hare, Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama, Hare
Rama,
Rama, Rama Rama,
Rama
Hare
Rama,
Hare.
Hare Hare.
This sound should be heard.
Also, just one thing I wanted to share is that, when you, like, this is just a realization I had, over the years, is that when you're doing a service like this, it's actually, you're just facilitating. That's what you're doing, like devotees will come and go, but if someone just takes the responsibility to just, pitch up every week, devotees will somehow come. And that's, like for me, that is my service, like to serve everybody, whoever comes to that harinam, that I'm able to serve them, and that, if whoever wants to chant or has a desire to come and chant, they're more than welcome to come, and they'll always feel welcomed at the harinam. So that is something I learned, like it's not about you being there or your harinam, or like I learned over the years, that this is truly a service where you have to serve everybody else, and you have to encourage everybody else to also give the holy name.
And and this I don't think goes for Harinam, but it goes for any devotional service, that we are so we are simply the instruments. We are simply the instruments to try to engage as many people as possible in Krishna service. So Keshava Bharati Prabhu, thank you so much for sharing, and I hope to our listeners out there that this podcast is able to offer you. We were able to serve you in some way, and it also we hope that it enlivened you, and the results of that enlivenment can only be seen if we see you out there in the streets chanting. Then we know it was a successful podcast. So thank you so much for your time today, and
Thank you so
sharing
much.
so much of the service you're performing. And I really like that part with Hari Murari Prabhu and sharing some insights of the saintly personality. So thank you so much for that as well.
Thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for always encouraging us, and also thank you for making sure that you are also there at the harinam. Like we appreciate it so much. It's not that you're just a temple president, but you take the time out of your busy schedule to come and encourage all of us to continue doing the service. So thank you so much.
It's just before we go, we were on our way to Harinam a month ago, and we got caught up in traffic, right? Heavy peak hour traffic. So we decided we're gonna miss the Harinam. So what to do? We got off the car right there. We at the closest shopping complex, and we just started chanting. We went to a busy intersection, and we just started chanting and made our way through the car park of this a busy shopping complex on a Friday afternoon. So it really encouraged me, and at the same time, you could really feel Prabhupada's presence, because he also he just went on the faith of his spiritual master and sat under a tree. It was hippie land, right? And people came and they joined him. But as soon as we started, I mean, on the first mantra, we had madanga and cartels. On the first mantra, somebody rolled up their window and screamed out of their car window, "Hey, Hare Krishna!" And I thought, okay, this is totally bona fide. So thank you again, Keshava Bharati Prabhu. Before you go,
No
we
problem.
got some quick
Yeah.
fire questions for you. Let's see how
Okay.
good you are with this. Your favorite type of prasad?
Koftas, spinach and paneer koftas.
Srinish and Squinny. Yeah, we need to do another podcast with you and speak about all your recipes and your love for cooking for devotees as well. So bulk cooking. So that's another thing. Your favorite movie doesn't have to be Krishna conscious.
My favorite movie, Fast and the Furious.
Fast and Furious, which one?
I think the seventh one.
Seven. Wow. Okay. And your favorite kirtan or your favorite instrument? You decide.
I can do both. My favorite kirtan is a Vrindavan kirtan. You know, the kirtan that Guru Maharaj led like just before he left. It was in Vrindavan. We went in the middle of the day and we had a kirtan. Like I couldn't understand like how kirtan can be so explosive at any time of the day. You know, that was, I think, the best experience I've had of kirtan. Also, one more, like Bhakti Chaitanya Maharaj, when we were doing Govardhan Parikram, we went to uh, Radha Govinda temple, and that kirtan, I've never sat in a kirtan like that before in my life, you know. And it was just like, you know, the kirtan was just bouncing off the walls, and like everybody was just sincerely chanting. So yeah, I pray that I can go back and experience a kirtan like that again. And then my favorite instrument is the harmonium. It's something that has given me a lot of shelter, you know, through my life when I was going through my ups and downs, like, you know, going to the harmonium and just sitting in front of the Lord and singing, like that has helped me to get through any obstacle in my life.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for sharing. It's that this holy name is our friend. This holy name is there for you when you lose someone close to you, when you lose a loved one. It's the holy name that we'll be chanting. That holy name will be there for you when we're in the car and all of a sudden we hear the tires screeching and we're going and the wall is coming closer to you. It's the holy name that we'll be chanting. It's that Maha Mantra we'll be chanting when death is coming for us as well. Then we know we perfected our lives. So Krishna's name is always there for us, and let's absorb ourselves in Krishna's name, and at the same time, let's give out this holy name as to many people as possible. Jai. Why don't you,
Let's do it.
since you love Kirtan so much, let's close off with this Prabhupada's tune, the one he sang in the park. Back.
Should I just
Go
sing?
for it. Just go for it, yeah.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Damodar Radha Damodar Shri Radhe. Jaya Radha Damodar Radha Damodar Shri Radhe. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada. Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Shri Harinam Sankirtan Yagya Ki Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai
I
Nitai Gaura Premanande
die.
Hari Hari Bol.
Thank you, Keshava Bharati Prabhu, so much.
Yeah.
We we thank you so much for sharing your heart with us today, and we really hope this encourages others. And at the same time, we can't wait to interview you, one of our listeners today. We just can't wait to get to know you better, because your devotional service is just so much. Uh, it's so much of an inspiration to all of us. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.